Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to OPC Season 2. I'm Kevin Averill-Walker, joined with me this evening, Matt Pixie Carroll. So we're up the head into Week 2, Day number 2. And yesterday we had Blank debuting their roster, Mega Thunder debuting a new player, and tonight we're going to see a couple more things. Ardeont are back this week.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be a bit of an interesting one. Like, in a way, it's become like the prodigal son returns, right? Because, they came into this, people were expecting good things. They totally delivered over the first weekend. And now is that going to continue now that the rest of the teams have had a little bit more warm-up time? Are they going to get a more significant challenge in their first match of the day?
Absolutely, and that's going to be a really interesting one. Of course, Flash Wolves returned this evening as well. Flash Wolves had a really long-winded kind of very interesting tight game with Hong Kong Attitude yesterday. Hong Kong Attitude will be taking on Blank later today as well. So maybe something interesting will happen there. Based on what we saw out of Hong Kong Attitude yesterday, anything could realistically happen. But first match of the day, let's get straight into it. Machi will be taking on Ardeont.
And yeah, this is the team that's going to have to give them a real challenge here. Ardeont do still have some very stiff competition ahead, have yet to face the likes of Blank and Flash Wolves, but as far as they're concerned, Machi are very much next up on the hit list.
Yeah, I think so. For Ardeont, they are still undefeated. 9-0 is their map record. 3-0 is their win record for matches. Still undefeated in just about every single way so far in Season 2. And it doesn't look like they're stopping just yet. They want to make this 12-0 by the end of the evening.
Exactly, and that's the thing. If they are able to pull off the win tonight, you do start to ask, well, who can stop Ardeont? And can teams like Flash Wolves, Blank, and AHQ actually do it? And it becomes more and more of a question, right? Whereas right now it's sort of like, okay, Ardeont are looking good. They've had good performances so far. Maybe that's going to stop eventually, because we did also have, like in Season 1, Fireball went totally undefeated in the first 2 weeks, and then they finished in, 5th place.
All right, let's take a look now to the stage. Our representatives from both will have a few words exchanged before we get into the festivities. On the left is Machi's Cassis, on the right is Bloodflower from Ardeont. So you are kind of like the black horse of the tournament? So Ardeont is a very tough team, but we've been practicing very hard for this.
What
did you want to say anything to Machi today before you get into the match?
딱히 할 말 없고요. 그냥 하던 대로 3대0 하고 빨리 집에 가겠습니다.
他说没有特别想要说什么话，就是想要赶快比完赛然后回家。
I don't have too much to say here. I like to have a quick match so we can go home early.
我看是非常汹涌成熟，那我们预祝两队都打出好比赛。我们这边先礼后兵先帮我们握个手 ，Please shake hands。谢谢。好的，那我们
So there it is, nice little handshake before we get into the match. And Bloodflower and Cass as coaches of both teams. And like we said this last time, Ardeont were on stage, but that is a threatening name.
Yeah, it really is.
If he was my coach, I'd be like, okay,
and he's
I'll do anything.
Up there like bowing at everyone, like he's such a mild-mannered, polite guy, but it's like Bloodflower. Like that's is that the name you got in prison or something? Like it's a really terrifying name. You're right, but it sounds like something out of a fantasy novel. Like you must find the rare Bloodflower to take out the evil king. I don't know. If Machi are an evil king,
there's a prison tattoo which is a Bloodflower on the back.
That's what it is.
Actually, the Ardeont logo is a flame, but I don't know. It could also just look
be
like
a flower.
It's
It's like a bloom that's about to unfurl.
Exactly.
Illuminati confirmed.
And that's the thing about thematically as well. That's really interesting because it does feel like Ardeont haven't gone up against the other top 3 teams in the tournament just yet. There's just a flower that's yet to bloom as well because we haven't seen this next level of Ardeont. We've seen Ardeont have some interesting competition, and I like to see what Machi can bring to Ardeont tonight. But realistically, Ardeont, based on standings, based on history so far, unlikely to be heavily challenged here, and probably not going to get challenged until next week.
Yeah, and honestly, that is the feeling we're starting to get. That being said, there are 2 things I think are worth factoring here. One is just how solid Machi are looking right now. They are looking like a better team than Season 1. You'd certainly hope so. I mean, naturally, you want all of these teams to try and improve, because especially the ones that didn't make playoffs. They want to make playoffs this time around. Right now, we're looking at Ardeont saying, yeah, they're probably a top 4 team. The question is where exactly will they sit in that? But actually, if they don't beat Machi tonight, that's not really as given a thing as it was before. And then on the Ardeont side of that, the thing we've started to notice, there are weaknesses in their play. There may be another level they can push it to, but there are weaknesses. It's actually no one's exploited them yet, and it will be those other top 3 teams that can exploit them.
All right, just to catch you guys up very quickly on the OPC format, it isn't like other tournaments that you've seen before. We're running home and away system here, so home team will get map picks 1, 3, and 5. That is the control, assault, and the hybrid. The away team gets to pick the hybrid and escort in the middle. That's maps 2 and 4. And of course, the team that gets to pick the map also gets to pick the starting side. There's going to be 6 weeks worth of regular season, 2 round robins, 1 round robin per 3 weeks. Which means we're kind of halfway through. I think we've reached officially the halfway mark now of the first round robin.
That we have.
Then the top 4 teams of the 8 will head into a single elimination best of 7 playoffs in the final 3 weeks of the competition. So now take a look at the standings as well. Ardeont, like we've said, 3-0 blank. Yesterday, 2-0 picked up their first 2 wins. Flash Wolves picked up their second win yesterday as well. Hong Kong outrun not Hong Kong, Attitude AHQ Esports sitting in 4th place with a 2-1 record. Machi 5th at 1-2. Hong Kong Attitude 1-3 after losing to Flash Wolves last night. Mega Thunder 1-3 as well after losing to Blank Esports last night. And Liberate Supreme yet to pick up a win.
And we're starting to see a bit more of what we kind of expected out of the standings, at least to begin with. And what we'll now get is exactly where these teams are relative to one another. We've kind of got the general stratification of who is going to be top 4, who's going to be bottom 4 right now. But what we haven't had is we haven't had those teams within the top 4 playing each other, with the exception of AHQ and Flash Wolves. And Flash Wolves came off the better. That's reflected in the standings right now. But kind of bringing the attention back onto this series, you also saw in there Machi do have themselves a win, and it was a good win, but they've actually picked up a couple of losses since then. So as much as it would be quite significant if Ardeont were to lose this, really, it's actually Machi need a win here.
I think so as well. And for Ardeont, the top 4 is very interesting because you can't be this team that really drops any matches in the top 4 either, because I guess one of the storylines for this competition and for the season is we know who some of the favorites for the top 4 are, but where exactly do they sit in the top 4? Certainly you want to be higher up. You want to be first. You want to be second in the round robin if you want to have a good seeding going to playoffs. So teams like AHQ that are already sitting on a loss, teams like Ardeont that are currently undefeated, you don't want to lose that lead suddenly to a team like Machi. Well, not to a team like Machi, but rather to the other 3 teams currently chasing you.
Yeah, and the truth is as well, look, it is not at all unlikely that we get a situation where the top 4 teams basically don't lose to anyone outside of the top 4. But if you are the one team in the top 4 who is very much a top 4 team who can take wins off Flash Wolves and off Blank and off Ardeont, any of those teams, and then pick up losses to teams like Machi and Flash Wolves and even Mega Thunder here, then actually your own spot in the top 4 gets put into contention just in terms of the sheer standings, not necessarily in the caliber of your team. So that's something that these teams have to be very aware of as well. And that's why I think it's important that a team like Ardeont, undefeated as they are, take this match very seriously against Machi. If they pick up a loss here, given that they're about to go into their games against Flash Wolves and Blank next week, it would actually really hurt their ability to stick in that top 4.
Yeah, I think so as well. This is a bit of a, I guess, more of a free week for Ardeont, not in terms of the fact that they have Machi, but in terms of the fact that they have very little games to play. This is going to be the only match of week 2. And then suddenly you go into week 3, and then you're facing off against the likes of Blank straight on day number 2. Then you've got stuff like AHQ on the first day as well, and you have also Flash Wolves on the 3rd day. So you have a bit of a super week almost for Ardeont.
Yeah.
So this needs to be a week where you have to shore up on any weaknesses, you have to shore up on anything that may be holding you back against those other teams that you will be facing next week.
And also means they should have very much been able to prepare for their one game this weekend. I would be very stunned if they hadn't, really. And Machi, on the other hand, are playing more than one match this weekend. Hello, Erster. Does he need to be rescued or something? Was that like a help me kind of...
It's more like, to be honest, like he's the only one on his team that I would say does not need to be rescued. Everyone else, maybe, I'm not too sure. Ardeont really hold their own, but Erster really holds his own. And that's the thing. I'm really looking forward to Erster versus Nuns in particular.
Yeah.
Something I want to discuss about Machi in particular is yesterday we did see them go up against Blank. And to be fair, there were some very close moments. Their control could have gone either way. In fact, the control that was the golden cap, that was a tiebreaker for the assault, did go Machi's way. So that was very impressive. In fact, the assault was probably quite impressive against Blank in general. Some of the other maps, not too sure about that. Machi, where the strength, I think Kant is definitely a strength on the Tracer. He wasn't as good versus Blank as he was against some other teams. That being said, he still held his own. Nuns on the Doomfist was something very scary. And even on the Genji was quite good. But you do think if none stayed on the Doomfist, maybe the result could have been better.
And that's the thing. There's going to be two big key Doomfist-related talking points here. One is going to be, are Machi going to be running nuns on that Doomfist? Because you're completely right. When they did, it did really well, and then suddenly they kind of stopped, and we were like, what's happened to the Doomfist? Like, why not pull that out when it was going so well? The other thing that's a factor here is Erster's own Doomfist. Right now, Erster is very much in contention for being considered the best Doomfist in the tournament. We're holding off for a couple more weeks, a couple more games, before we really make that call, because he's still got to play against Doomfists like Huss in this tournament right now. There are other candidates for that prized best Doomfist spot, if you will. And Nuns actually could be a player that challenges him. So there's going to be this twofold thing, right? If Machi don't run Nuns on Doomfist, you wonder whether it's going to be because they don't feel Nuns' Doomfist, good as it is, can match up to Erster, or whether it's because they actually really have something else they're trying to do, given that there were times where they weren't running the Doomfist last night as well.
I think Machi have set strategies that they do like to play on certain parts of the map. That being said, we did see some changes up, particularly on Lijiang Tower, as we now see the map pick as well.
Those stills are getting weirder and weirder. That was just a floating Winston corpse.
That was being held up, if I'm not mistaken, by Symmetra. So that was fairly grim. But Control Center on Lijiang last night, we did see two sides of Machi. One side, which was a 99-99 in the actual Lijiang Tower map itself. And if I'm not mistaken, Nuns was playing a decent amount of Doomfist there. And then we went to the tiebreaker for Assault, which Machi then won. And they won that off the back of Tracer Genji. So one thing that says to me is that they're capable of running multiple compositions with relative strength. Tracer Genji is something they can fall back on, something they used a lot in Season 1. Now coming to the Doomfist, it's had some very good moments, specifically against Blank, and actually against a lot of different teams they faced so far. And I would say as part of the reason why they were doing quite well against Blank in various moments of the map. So it's interesting that they still have the sort of thing where they are trying to decide, what do we actually want to run here? What's been more effective? And to be quite fair, I don't think there's very much a case of not running the Doomfist against Erster because you don't think you're as good. I think actually Nuns is able to hold its own.
Yeah, and I think what actually might be going on with Machi in that regard is, I wonder if they're just looking to go, okay, is the only, if they pull out a Doomfist, is our only option to run a Doomfist of our own? Or do we have something else that we can play with some competency that is going to perform equally well? And I would say, assuming that's what they're trying to find out, I would say so far the answer has actually been yes, because, like you said, the success they've had on things like the Tracer Genji, and they're doing that with a similar amount of proficiency to in the past. So, if nothing else, it speaks to their flexibility, but when all is said and done, I do actually want to see a bit more of Nuns' Doomfist, and I may just get my wish.
You're going to get that, but you're also going to get Erster's Genji. That's something I didn't quite touch up on, but Erster's played a great Doomfist, but he's probably the best Genji here as well, which is really scary if you're a team like Machi right now going up against the Sky.
Sure, Erster is actually the best Erster in this tournament.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
Well, the opening skirmish is going to be a spicy one no matter how you slice it. DM trying to weave around the side. Machi want to go aggressive. Good dive. Catching Jeff and Animo. No hesitation. Nuns, unfortunately, too far over on that one. And Kanta's drop as well, and that could be all they need here. Oh, they do get one good trade back there. Picking off Erster will probably mean Ardeont might not be able to secure this one out. D-Crown is going to get pushed back a little bit, but DM can't really put pressure on the fight, and they're going to get the full rack of respawns here to come back in and aggress. It's kind of run a little bit even. Actually, it looks like they're going to cede this point, and Ardeont, good use of the extra bit of positioning they got out of that. Kanta's stalling it so that the team can come back in, but this is effectively even, and Ardeont had the setup now with these extra kills closed out. That was a really nice turnaround from Ardeont at the end.
Yeah, and to me, that was even right up until the point that Nuns actually died. Well, right, that's probably not even. That was in favor for Machi. Then Nuns died. Kind of gave up his life there. I don't believe he realized exactly where he was standing. Went off the map, and suddenly Ardeont were able to get trades in there. Erster dying was still fairly even for both the teams, but DM carried his weight really hard for Ardeont right towards the end there. You actually see that Machi didn't really have many options to get back in. They couldn't take down DM, and DM was killing everyone else.
And it's still a good fight. That's the thing. They can do it again. They just really need to press the Goatman here, have that same confidence. But it is going to be Ardeont pressing it first. They pick off Kiyomi with that Dragon Blade. Doesn't really find much else, but he doesn't really need much else. Does pop No Talk smack off the back end, and No Talk himself ends up on the edge, over the edge rather, afterwards. That's a hold.
It's a lot of time gained for Ardeont as well. They've won the first fight, they won the second fight. We're already nearly at the 50% mark. Ultimate's more so coming up for Ardeont now. Double defensive here. Machi still looking for something to use. They're going to get both the attack ones now, so this is going to have to do a lot of work, but expect both Jeff and Animo to respond.
And indeed, Jeff does respond with his Transcendence. Restia and Kiyomi have both used their ultimates, and Animo holding onto his could be what it takes to tip the balance here for Ardeont. They don't have the DPS ultimates, but Erster picking up Kiyomi is the kind of leverage they need. Oh, against Restia as well. And no response yet from Machi. They finally close off on Animo and Jeff, and now Nuns is able to press the go button. Candace keeping up a good amount of pressure as well. Michelle just trying to zone with the self-destruct as Nuns gets picked. But actually, Machi still have plenty of gas in the tank here with D-Crown and Kant on the point itself. Erster, he's coming in now and could flip it back the other way once again. And indeed, Restia, Kiyomi, and No Talk down with the 3K. It's looking like that's going to be the case. Nuns and Kant need to have a hero play. Erster does finally go down to D-Crown, who is really the only one keeping this point alive. But now the rest of Ardeont is starting to reinforce, and now D-Crown goes down to Republic. Ardeont, they're about to cap this one out.
That was a really aggressive play from Erster. I'm not too sure about that one. He had no life to actually try and take down D-Crown, who played the situation quite well. Republic cleaned him up, and still Ardeont away again. Restia dying. I mean, he's going to have to respawn in the overtime. Machi can't afford
No
this.
Talk. Yeah, that was really staggered by Machi. Restia, I don't know what he was doing on the point, aside from maybe forcing overtime, but Kant was alive. Kant could have done it. No Talk lost his mech, and essentially that fight is over before it began, unless something crazy comes out of D-Crown, but no Primal Rage, and now dead very soon after. It's not looking good for them, and Ardeont 1-0 up in a shutout.
Yeah, really clean overall. I think Ardeont nearly lost a couple of fights there, but I think the key word to say is nearly. They didn't actually lose any fights overall. Erster died a couple of times, and Erster has been a player that's so impactful that despite dying, he's always taking at least one person, if not two, if not even maybe three players down with him if he does die. In fact, DM basically had no deaths there. He was really solid, keeping the team alive, or keeping the cap alive, keeping the objective alive for Ardeont, all the while, even if Erster was down.
And there's something really unfortunate that happened for Machi there. Honestly, I think that first fight would have gone the complete opposite way if Nuns hadn't have actually dropped off the edge there, because Kant was killed. They'd picked up a double. Having a double, 2 for 1 with your one being the DPS isn't too bad if Nuns had been able to continue having impacts, because they did also close out on Erster not long after. So what that says to me is Machi clearly have the potential for this. What they need is confidence and cleanliness, and sometimes they're having one and not the other.
Well, they're nearly there, right? They have sort of part of the equation. They are starting to win a few fights, but they can't close out these fights, and it feels like Hong Kong against Flash Wolves for the most part.
Oh dear, as they're going deep for this dive though, they kind of don't protect their own backline. No Talk finally takes down Animo, but if he's up diving Animo, then who was meant to be protecting Kiyomi and Restia? And now Nuns going down to Erster means Ardeont will get themselves free reign over this point.
Yeah, pretty confident pickups by Ardeont. Nothing too special, I guess. And just easy kills by Erster as well. This is the kind of power on the Doomfist play we're kind of talking about. And it's not just the mechanics. We've seen good mechanics out of other Doomfists. What really sets Erster apart, for me at least, is his decision-making, his positioning, his understanding of exactly where he needs to be, who he needs to target, and how to do that and execute perfectly.
Yeah, and it's something we've seen some Doomfists lack more than others, but you're completely right. Erster, though, as you say that, goes down to D-Crown, and this is the opening for Machi. Pulse Bomb into the mix, does not get anything for DM as Republic is picked off, and now DM pressured out. He's going to try and keep this fight alive, but he should know to back off here, and indeed he does. Kant going to keep that pressure on while Machi make it to the point, and they are going to get themselves a flip back from Ardeont, who will just be able to come in for a quick re-aggress here, but
I don't think Ardeont are going to give this up.
Yeah, not indeed. Kiyomi getting picks there. They do trade with Animo. DM wasn't able to be in that fight initially. Jeff with this Transcendence now is going to top off Ardeont. Maybe that'll be enough, but they're really relying on DM and Republic both, and indeed DM is going to make it pay off for them as they pick up a full run of kills, and yeah, not going down without a fight. They actually bought themselves enough time to reset there, and Machi are getting pushed back off this point, being so close just a moment ago.
And the thing about DM is he's such an anchor for this team. You can always rely on him to keep everything alive. You can always rely on him to keep the camp alive. Make sure Ardeont's always within the game. And we see some risky plays out of Erster. So, while I do praise the guy overall, sometimes, yeah, he does make those rare mistakes. Guess what? He's still a human. So you have a guy like DM that, despite Erster going down, DM, he doesn't die, and he makes sure Ardeont is staying within the game.
It's almost like that Bacon Jack and Zonda thing. It's like, well, you kill Bacon Jack and then you had to, Zonda kills you, or you kill Zonda and then Bacon Jack kills you. And we do actually get a similar thing. The difference is actually Erster dies so rarely in the first place. But here we go now with the sound barrier out. A little bit more time for DM and Erster both to shine. Nuns needs to get a lot of work done with this Dragon Blade. He's already having a hard time of it. The backline getting dove on his own team, but they take out Animo and Jeff crucially. Republic getting pressured with no primal rage to keep him alive, and Machi. That's the cleanliness and execution we need. Erster tried to meteor strike to safety. Nuns was there to pick them up, and at last Machi get themselves a cap.
Yeah, finally, right? And 93% for Ardeont, so Machi have a long way to go to try and catch up here, but they found the pieces they were looking for. Nuns catching on Ursa right after Meteor Strike came down. I think that's the most dangerous position for a Doomfist play. You're not really able to do too much as soon as you land from that from the Meteor Strike.
Well,
so that's actually when you see a lot of them, Ursa anyway, dying.
It's a pretty incredible pick to have opened it out. Just DM taking down D-Crown. They didn't have the opportunity to go aggressive. And honestly, Erster, knowing that, has taken huge advantage of it. This is just all that one early kill getting leverage. The self-destruct will buy them some time for thanks to No Talk, but it's not really time that's going to do anything for them. No Talk's about to go down here anyway, just as the team is going to come back into respawn, and they're going to have to come in and fight straight away. Otherwise, Ardeont just kind of cap this one out altogether. Unless they're able to get some kills off this, but they're still not. They're not going in a concerted way. They're just trickling it in themselves rather than resetting and using that final 7% to get a fight.
You can definitely see the desperation play coming up from Machi there, kind of trickling themselves onto the point, but they're not getting the trades, and that's the issue. Ardeont are always going to kill here, still managing to get kills here. Nuns going down as well. Suddenly get a wave of respawns from Machi, but they are still going to be trickling, and this is a problem. They need to get trades or this won't happen for them.
And they started to trickle a lot longer than they needed to anyway. I mean, you could understand it at this kind of point where you're really just hoping for a hero play. It's better than nothing. It's the only chance you've got, but they could have actually let No Talk die or indeed retreat. Left it at that. Come in with 5 people. It would have been suboptimal, but it would have been better than just kind of going on one by one, because it was like No Talk, and then Restia was on, and then Nuns was on, and then D-Crown was on. And Ardeont hadn't even capped yet.
Yeah, I mean, for Ardeont, it's just, there's so far a lot of strength in this thing. There's so much that they're doing. You can even see right now, this is Ursa on the Genji, and I don't even know if I would want to pick Ursa on the Genji or Ursa on Doomfist right now, because to me, they're both equally as deadly for very different reasons, and no matter what happens, you got DM to deal with at the end of the day. Republic and DM have actually been working quite well together. You can see that particularly on the night market. Some of DM's damage, a lot of his very near kills get cleaned up by Republic quite well. So a lot of the times, if you're not seeing DM come up on the kill feed, you are seeing Republic come up on the kill feed. That's the two of them working together to make sure the Winston actually picks up the Tracer's damage.
Yeah, I think that's a really valid thing you say there. And I'm reminded a little bit of Jongi. And the other thing we see out of Republic is that very Jongi-esque thing where the DPS is dead, but because they've done groundwork, he recognizes that and goes in to finish off those kills. So sometimes it can look like the team is in really good shape because they've finally done it. They've finally killed DM and Erster both, but actually all their members are really low, and suddenly the tanks see the opportunity to go aggressive themselves, clear out the DPS. And yeah, sure, you abandon your backline in so doing. You're not there to defend them, but if you're jumping in to kill the enemy DPS and then some, your backline's going to be fine. Like, it doesn't matter that they're exposed. No one's going to be alive to dive them. So recognizing those opportunities is actually a really significant part of what Republic is doing a lot of the time here.
Let's take a look at the first replay now onto Gardens, and this is going to be, I guess, halfway through the, I want to say, defense for Ardeont. This is the part where they had the double defensive ultimates, and when Nuns and Camp do have the offensive ultimates. Problem here being Ursa's already picked up 2, D-Crown picks up himself 2, and Nuns, this is when he starts to actually really go off. Waits for Ursa to sort of finish his role there. I believe Ursa might pull out a Dragon Blade anyway. He does get this hero play that makes sure that his team stays alive.
Yeah, he absolutely does, and part of what happens there is actually Ursa did die at one point, and they had lost Animo and Jeff. Strictly speaking, Machi had a numbers advantage, but Michelle didn't actually die, only lost the mech, and was still affecting the fight a little bit. Republic was doing totally fine, had plenty of health compared to D-Crown, who couldn't exert as much pressure. And actually, DM was alive. And that was the really significant thing. DM wasn't in the fight, which meant Machi kind of forgot about DM because he was off, licking his wounds. They forgot about him when they went in to go to the point itself. And then suddenly DM arrived again, and Erster came back in with the Dragon Blade off the respawn. And actually, Machi were in this really vulnerable spot. Ardeont took full advantage of it, and it's just a little bit of Machi having a slight misread, and Ardeont then having a very good read of the situation, and suddenly a one fight became a lost fight.
It's interesting because the way the ultimates sort of came online was the support ultimates for Ardeont were online first. They used them defensively to try and keep things together, keep things held up. Then it was the attacking ultimates on the DPS side for Machi that came on afterwards. They used it straight away. The DPS ultimates for Ardeont not quite there just yet. As soon as Nuns finished up his Dragon Blade, which he got a kill, maybe the sister on D-Crown as well, who got a double with his Primal Rage, that's when it was Ursa's turn to pull out the Dragon Blade as well, and he was able to pick up a bunch of kills. Now, the interesting thing about Ardeont is, I think it's quite rare, or I want to say somewhat unexpected, as we're about to head into the next replay as well, that Ursa is able to pull stuff off like that, because a lot of teams don't end up pulling off hero plays that big.
Yeah, so now this is the opening fight here, and honestly what happens is Machi just go too deep on the dive. You know, they get dollar bills in their eyes, and they're also, if you noticed here, they were diving with no talk for a significant part of that, while Michelle was actually off keeping his own backline safe. That was why it took them so long to kill Jeff and Animo, and in that time, just the DPS from Ardeont was able to take out the backliners of Machi, and it's this really simple thing, like, you make a bit of a gamble when you do that. You go, okay, we're going to send all of these members forward and leave our backline totally exposed, hoping that they're going to live long enough against their DPS that we kill more of them than they kill our two supports. And you need to do it in a quick enough time. And frankly, that just didn't happen because Ardeont reacted well enough and Machi slightly mispositioned in a couple of crucial moments there. And it means that it looked like a really bad decision. It was actually just one of two options.
Let's take a look at the next replay now. Further on night markets, and still Ardeont, you know, they're getting the kills here. They're trying to retake this cap, and this is about when we get this very long sort of winded spree of Machi just continuously feeding members one by one, and they never get a full reset here. It's a little bit dangerous for Machi because they know they can't really afford to get a full reset. A full reset means Ardeont start at 93%. They pretty much win from there. It's very difficult for Machi to get back in. So they're sort of just feeding members in one by one.
Yeah, and you saw that there was that interesting moment. No Talk was dead. He was as good as dead. But it actually delayed Ardeont's cap for long enough for his team to not only respawn, but for 2 of the remaining 5 members to be close enough to the point to go on it straight away. There was enough time for the remaining members to actually get there, so they could have just let No Talk die, had the cap go over, gone in with the full 5. That's always going to give you a better shot than just going in with a Winston with the Primal Rage running and then trying to follow it up with a Genji, because actually, if you do the sheer math, that's a 2 versus 6 when you could have had a 5 versus 6.
And I think there's the potential, when you look at the way teams play, Machi were maybe in a sort of state where they weren't playing to the objective, in the sense that you look at where Ardeont were, which is at that 93%. Yes, you can't really give up that cap, but I think you're right. If you give it up and make sure you're grouped up together enough, you can still get in there just in time for the overtime. The problem for Machi is they're sort of playing like Ardeont don't have 93%.
Yeah.
They're kind of playing like, oh, we're going to try and just bleed out this timer for as long as we can. We're going to try and get as much progress as we can so that we can then come back later and use that to our advantage later, except there's not going to be that further opportunity.
That later, yeah.
Since they're at 93 and Ardeont are likely to win if you don't do something and make a real solid play after that.
Yeah, and I think you're completely right. I don't want to say it's that Machi misread the situation, because I guarantee they would have been aware that Ardeont had 93%, but that habit of we have the cap, let's stall out and then we'll get another fight afterwards is a very entrenched habit in a lot of these teams, and it was a case where that habit came back to bite Machi, I feel. It's that simple thing of playing to the game you would like to be in rather than the game you're in.
The game that we are in is going to be on Numbani. That's been the next map that's been revealed so far in the series, picked up by Team Ardeont as their away pick. So that's the other thing we sort of look at here is Machi do have the home side. They get technically more map picks in the series. I'm not too sure how much that's going to help them in this series. It's not like you're up against Blank again, where you sort of have a better understanding of where exactly are Blank's strengths map-wise and where exactly are their weaknesses map-wise and game mode-wise as well. I think for Ardeont so far, it doesn't really appear they have too much obvious strengths and weaknesses across the different game modes.
Yeah, so far indeed. And part of that is because we're still waiting on those teams like Flash Wolves and Blank and AHQ to face off against them, but yeah, you're completely right. Up until that point arises where someone really starts to challenge Ardeont and we see some weaknesses exposed in terms of game types or indeed just single maps, teams like Machi are just going to have to go in blind here. They're going to have to be picking things like Lijiang Tower and King's Row and all these neutral ground maps. While Ardeont kind of get free reign, they can pick their Numbanis, they can pick their Icon Bulbs, they can kind of go wherever they want right now.
Definitely, I think Ardeont don't have, it just doesn't really look like they have any weaknesses so far in terms of at least map picks and game modes, and that's important because it's hard for these other teams to really get a read on in terms of out metagaming them, at least on the map front. You just got to pick, like you said, for Machi, something that you maybe are just a little bit confident on. Ardeont had a pretty clean run through teams like Hong Kong Attitude and Mega Thunder already. So, I mean, these kind of teams in, I would say, the bottom half of the standings so far, from 5 to 8, no one's really been able to seriously push them. It doesn't look like Machi at the moment are that team either, and that's a little bit difficult to see.
It is just a touch, and it is going to be a defense first for Machi. So this is interesting. With the map pick, it's actually going to be Ardeont opting to attack first, and Machi are pulling out a Tourbillon defense. This is the first one we've actually seen in Season 2.
But not too uncommon because we did see Machi do this a decent amount, a lot of other teams actually as well. Hong Kong Attitude, Flashals, AHQ in particular, really enjoyed doing the Tourbillon defense. It must be a Tier 1 thing.
Yeah, we saw it a lot in Season 1, yeah, absolutely. And here's going to be the dive already. The turret just taken out nice and quick. The pressure is really on. Machi just kind of bowing under the pressure. It's like they had set up for this exact attack and they didn't actually do anything when it came time. No Talk going to lose the mech here, and that's just a really quick push and cap out of Ardeont.
This is overwhelming as well because Jeff has gone on to the DPS, so actually you have a very solid dive composition where 5 of the members can just go for the dive directly onto defensive positioning on Machi. Meanwhile, Jeff takes the opposite high ground. He gets good positioning himself, and it's just easy mode for Ardeont right from then on then.
Yeah,
Jeff as well, I don't know if he wants to stay on the soldier or not. So far, it does seem to be working.
Yeah, the triple DPS absolutely was working out, and you're completely right. It's that extra pressure you get on top of that dive. And now, look at how far forward they're playing. All they need to do is just keep Machi slowed down and at bay and minimize the number of defenses they're going to get during this Streets phase.
I think we'll be looking at a triple DPS ultimate run for Ardeont fairly soon. It's going to be quite dangerous for Machi to sort of deal with here. At least they get the 1 kill in DM. That does slow things down somewhat. Expect Machi to get maybe a little bit aggressive here, pop out some of the Ardeont ultimates, maybe back off and just bait it out.
Yeah, at the very least, they're able to get position on the payload and stop it for now, but they do need to find a good way to either fight or back out of here adequately. Erster, he's not gonna, yeah, he's already half going in. He does actually take out Nuns, though, and no one's really answered Erster. No one finished him off there, and Machi again just looked like they weren't quite sure whether they wanted to go in or go out. They did neither and paid for it.
At the same time, though, you do notice Jeff used the tactical visor, so you kind of do see Machi. They didn't really want to dive, or rather counter dive or aggress too hard onto Ardeont. 2 DPS ultimates. They don't really have enough defense ready for that at all. The other thing you want to remember is Ardeont had guys like Republic and Michelle follow Ursa really closely. His life was on half, but he didn't go down, and the tanks helped him a lot.
And again, playing extremely far forward. Republic also going to pop his Primal Rage just to keep the displacement going.
Nice.
They had the pick on Cat, and they feel safe using that, so that's just going to be a free cap on point 2 here. They do lose Ursa for it, but they're picking up even more of the back end of this. They're going to actually keep getting progress on this cart while Ursa is respawning. Actually, as I say that, no one was on it for a moment, but now back on the payload, getting it underway. DM finally gets punished for his overextension.
It's interesting that DM is the only one that's really died on the Ardeont side so far. He's now died twice. I'm not too sure if anyone else on Ardeont has actually
Ursa's died once.
Ursa's died 1 time. Okay, well, you got that as well. So it's the DPS is sometimes dying, but otherwise, it's just all of Machi wiping time and time again. This is going to have to be a really stabilized defense. Machi just need 1 fight win, and then they can start bleeding it down the time.
And this is with single healer, by the way. So these incredible dives are happening with only a Lucio to back it up. Kiyomi already down on the open up here. And this is actually, I'm not sure who ulted there. It must have been Nuns, but in any case, he died, so it didn't really matter. I thought it might have been Jeff, but he still got his ult. But the closeout from Ardeont is just looking super, super clean. Machi weren't really in a good position to use that tactical visor anyway. DM stuck him with a pulse bomb very, very quickly. Honestly, again, Ardeont just aren't really getting pressured by the defense.
And it feels to me like Ardeont aren't actually wanting to play the triple DPS, not in the Streets phase. They kept Jeff on there because he had the ultimate. It was working for the time being, so why not? Now Jeff switches back onto the Zengarde, and we're seeing something more traditional out of the Ardeont squad. This is the most classic version of dive that you can possibly get. Again, now Machi Esports, they did get a little bit of stabilization. Cart's very close, but they got the ultimates to play with. Ardeont don't have the ultimates yet.
And that's quite a significant thing. But we do have Erster with the Dragon Blade, and it can honestly come down to as little as that. Indeed, already getting Kiyomi deflect to get himself back to safety. And he's having, wow, catches Cat trying to go around for a flank there. Might not be able to get away, actually will just be fine from that self-destruct, and No Talk getting picked before he gets back in the mech by Erster. Good target selection. Nuns gets 1 back, but he loses his life immediately after, and as it turns out, all they did need was that 1 ultimate they had, the Dragon Blade. That is a very short distance left and a very, very quick cap.
And it does start to look a little bit like a more extreme, exaggerated version of Blank versus Machi. And when we watched the Blank series, it was Blank pulling out wins, maybe in situations that they shouldn't have been. And there was a lot more punches thrown back by Machi in that series. This time around, that we've seen on Lijiang Tower, especially now that we've seen Numbani as well, it's actually Ardeont getting away with murder in a lot of situations. Ursa, solo Dragonblade, 1 ultimate against 3 ultimates on the Machi side. I don't think he should have gotten away with that. Multiple times now when Ursa goes in really deep, gets really aggressive, you expect him to maybe get punished, you expect him to get really low, especially in the streets phase, he was under half, just doesn't get killed. Yeah, his tanks are helping him out, but where's the focus fire from Machi? Ursa's getting away with far too much.
Yeah, the triple DPS did also help them out here. This is kind of how Ardeont seems to play, and when I spoke at the beginning of the series about things they're doing that aren't getting punished that can be, they are playing extremely aggressively, and they are very much on the border of overextending. Like, to the point where if they win the fight, you go, this is brave, but they pulled it off. And if they lose it, you would say they overextended and it cost them. Like, that's where they're playing a lot of these fights positionally. You'll see how far forward of the cart they're fighting a lot of the time. And it's those the exact things that Machi aren't really reacting to and pressuring here. But triple DPS makes it more likely for that to go off successfully because it thrives if you are the one exerting the pressure. And Machi are kind of letting Ardeont exert that pressure.
At the same time, I got to go back to a comment I made during the Ardeont versus Mega Thunder series, which is essentially Ardeont are playing this game with the player style based on the skill level of the other team that they're expecting, or the skill level that they've gauged so far in the series, which is, we think this is how strong Machi is, therefore this is what we believe we can get away with it. Things like Ursa solo blading an entire team at ultimate disadvantage, stuff like that. I'm not necessarily expecting Ardeont to pull that against a team like Flashers. Maybe they still will. Maybe they're just that confident. It might be a shame for them to try to do that and then get punished, but so far, at least against Machi, it is that sort of balance, you know. Does it look stupid? Does it look extremely brave? I actually think it looks a little bit more calculated.
Yeah, and you make a completely valid point. Exactly, maybe these are punishable things, but they're doing them against a team that consistently is not punishing them for them.
Which is evident so far.
Yeah, exactly. And Nun's picking off Animo's turret. It was really just a spotter turret. It's going to be redeployed. But Ardeont have given themselves some ground here.
And so Ardeont are doing the same defense, more or less, that Machi were doing. Machi are going to go for the Sombra sort of offense. And I kind of like this as well. It kind of gives you that bonus option against the turret. You don't have to necessarily deal with the turret too much. The EMP does naturally shut that down. But you got to get the EMP. And so far, Machi, they're not really winning this fight just yet. Their respawn's going to take a little bit longer than Ardeont's, which is interesting and unique to the Numbani map. So Machi got to do a little bit more work here, and they have to wait for the EMP.
They do have the health pack control, though, which is something crucial. Interestingly enough, as much as health packs aren't like the be-all, end-all of these fights, with only the single healer out of Ardeont, that can help tip the balance. Nun's getting picked by the turret, though. That's really unfortunate, not reading the positioning on that. And it's not like it's really anywhere all that spicy, but if they can get their EMP up, this triple DPS can really start to work wonders.
I think this is just all time sort of being blown away on the Machi side so far. You see we're about 1 minute 30 now. Since the start of the game, Machi are still bleeding members. You got to be careful about this. Kiyomi can't afford to die here. And Machi losing Decron quite early, losing Restia then. You lost Nuns as well. He didn't get a chance to finish building that EMP only now. After 1 minute and 30 plus in the game, you got your first EMP. I think that's a very slow EMP.
Yeah, it really, really is. And a lot of that is just the positioning they were indeed not able to take, I should say. I was going to say the position they were taking, but the tricky thing is they weren't able to take the ground that can leverage those hacked health packs. But there he goes in with the EMP. All he actually caught was Michelle and immediately went down to it. Kant, though, does take out Ursa, so they're going fairly even, and that's the closeout they need, picking up Jeff and Republic, who did not get a chance to use their ultimates, really leveraging that sound barrier. Molten Core out. Just kind of the last ditch there, probably because Animo's about to swap off if this point gets capped. The respawns will start to come in, but Machi do have some resources, notably this tactical visor, but he's not getting any kills for it. Good pressure from Michelle, has that defense matrix up and will kind of waste a bit of time of Kiyomi. That's going to allow Ardeont to get back to the point, but they can still close this one out here, Machi. They just need to play a little bit tidy. Michelle needs to be taken out before he can get the mech back, and that is looking like what D-Crown is trying to do, but no, does not successfully do so, and Ursa coming back in and picking no talk. Suddenly it just falls apart for Machi at the last minute.
And that's it. The respawners were very important there. That's why I had to highlight it, because Ardeont, I did see that DM was respawning. I did see that Ursa was respawning. And by the way, Tracer and Soldier, they can get back to this first defense very quickly from the defensive spawn location. And for Machi, on the other hand, they're not picking up nearly enough kills. Nuns dying straight after EMP, after what maybe could have been considered an even average EMP. You didn't actually kill Michelle or take his mech down. So actually, when Kiyomi was using Tank Visor, well, Michelle's still there, Matrix is still up, Kiyomi's getting nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And this is really rough for Machi right now. I mean, even if they do cap now, just look at the difference in time, and already losing Nuns and Restia, it's not looking good. They do get a couple of key members, but Ardeont have a lot of resources. The sleep is good as well. D-Crown is in a very tight spot with that ultimate running now. Republic gonna pop his, trying to run down Kiyomi, and successfully does so. He was not in a really safe spot at all there, Kiyomi. Very overextended in a sense. No Took getting picked as well. They have time for a last-ditch attack, but they're gonna have to do it with D-Crown lagging behind now.
Yeah, Machi, less than 16 seconds now remaining, no ultimates to play with. Players do start respawning. They're coming into this triple DPS as well. I mean, it worked for Ardeont. Not necessarily going to work for Machi, at least not working so far. They need to brute force this. That's the only chance to get in there. Maybe take down Ursa early. DM goes down as well. Suddenly you have a chance. Leverage, player advantage. It's the only thing they can do.
But if DM gets a huge pulse bomb, it is as good as over as well. And they really need to make the fight last long enough for Nuns to get a Dragon Blade, but one indeed, and a crucial one at that. DM goes down. Jeff has popped out the nano boost, but they're getting the kills through as they take him and Animo both.
This is winnable now.
It is indeed winnable, and the overwhelming pressure of triple DPS did seem to be the magic match you were needing. Then closing out now on Erster. We're maybe a little bit further away from the point than they needed to be, because Restia and No Talk did lose a bit there. No Talk only losing the mech and Restia losing his life, but they are on the point. They are getting a cap. Ardeont, no final contest. Actually, DM going for a sneaky one there. Pulse Bomb goes wide and he will lose his life. May actually be trying to buy time for a respawn here.
I would not recommend this from Ardeont. I think this is a little bit futile. This is definitely, you know, we talk about the blind.
Well, they've got D-Crown and Nuns.
Okay, well.
They've made it. Oh, wow, that is devastating. Machi get driven back off the point because they did not kill DM quick enough. That is about as rough as it gets for a closeout there, and a spectacularly fast cap and push and finish from Ardeont, and an equally heartbreaking first hold. At least as far as Machi concerned, that is a rough way to lose Numbani.
Well, you got to bring up the coin flip. We talked about this already, and that's, you know, a play like that. I think for a team like Ardeont, they are playing to the skill of their opponent, which is, we believe we can make a play like this and make it work. And suddenly it does work, and it looks like, well, it's a very miraculous kind of defense after a miraculous attack from Machi. But against another team, you do have to question. That's the kind of play where you suddenly throw away a bunch of lives. We've already seen Blank do that yesterday, and we've seen other teams do that as well. You go for that sort of miracle last-ditch defense, and you think there's the potential. You can have a result like Ardeont. It looks fantastic.
Yeah.
You get the first point hold. The alternative of that, when it looks stupid, is bravery and stupidity, that very fine line on the other side. When it does look very silly, that's when you get a full team wipe. You give a lot of momentum to the other team, give the ultimates to the other team. They're pushing the cart now, and they're just completely rolling you over, which is what Ardeont did to Machi. So
yeah,
that is a very fine line that for Ardeont right now, they're kind of just thinly skating across.
Yeah, and that's exactly it. I mean, they made that play because it's this situation where you're like, all right, well, maybe it goes off and we just win right here and right now. And if we don't, look, we've still got plenty of time to stop up the cart at some point. So, like, I wouldn't have even blamed any other team for going for it anyway, but it was an extremely risky play. The fact that they then pulled it off, and I wasn't surprised that they pulled it off, should say a lot about what's going on between these two teams here. It is a case of Ardeont are looking really good and Machi are really not measuring up right now, which is a little bit unfortunate to say for Machi. And I was surprised that DM survived in that situation. It was almost like Machi were expecting Ardeont to not go for that last-ditch play, which for me would be a misreading of this team, because Ardeont always go for that last-ditch play without fail, even probably when they absolutely shouldn't, even when they definitely shouldn't and do anyway, and it does blow up, they still go for it. It's like the most reliable thing about this team. Machi should be aware of that.
And I think we are now starting to pick up maybe some of the strengths and weaknesses of this team, and that seems like a double-edged sword, because it can look fantastic in this case, or it can look really, really bad, maybe against a team like Flash Wolves down the line, which is why I suspect Ardeont may be a bit more reserved and disciplined and look to not make those plays, look to make much safer
You'd certainly
plays.
hope so.
Kind of like the way Mega Thunder were playing against Ardeont, but not quite as safe as and quite as passive as that. A little bit more, still maintaining the aggression and the danger, but definitely making sure that you're not doing something that could absolutely cost you the game. I think you'd really hit the nail on the head there with the fact that Machi may have not expected it, because the way Machi won was they actually came in and play the aggressive game themselves. I said the only thing they can do here, they got no ultimates, is to actually play very aggressive. Let's take a look at the replay here as well and actually make sure they can get their picks first and actually get it done. And then when DM came in, they just couldn't kill him.
Yeah, so this is a first push that came out of Ardeont, and it really was just as simple as triple DPS, quick dive. They didn't take time setting up. They went very much from the low ground, knowing that Jeff would be ready on the high ground. They didn't need to set him up before going for the attack, and it just totally paid dividends for them. And again, actually, this is now the sort of play we can come to expect from Ardeont. They pull the trigger quickly. They don't take time to set up teammates. They expect that they can, generally speaking, set themselves up and seem to understand how few resources they can safely commit to doing something. And it's very rare we see them overcommit in terms of setting up a play. We have actually seen them overcommit during fights in terms of ultimate usage, but we've never really seen a team challenge them in terms of ultimate economy, so it hasn't really been a factor yet.
What I want to say about that particular take from Ardeont on Numbani first is it's a very explosive opening, which really, realistically, some of the Taiwanese people have said this quite well as we take a look at the next replay. It can either explode in your face or explodes the other team instead. In that time, it exploded Machi.
So this was the EMP that Nuns was finally able to get. And this is after 2 minutes had passed. He wasn't able to get the EMP anytime before that. And it just totally went wide, right? It missed most of the members of Ardeont. They start getting some kills back here, but actually, if you'll notice, members like Nuns died there. A good number of members of Machi actually died. And they're only just
Michelle
coming back to the fray now. Michelle is what saves this one because he goes up onto the high ground. The rest of Machi are still kind of bumming around the point, trying to deal with DM, who is still not dead. Michelle knocks out Kiyomi. He hasn't killed him, but he was stopping Kiyomi from killing the members of Ardeont that were coming in to reinforce. And that meant Ardeont did reinforce and killed the members on the point that were still wasting time chasing around DM. And it just looked like the Benny Hill theme should have been playing.
A little bit. And this is one of those moments where, for a team like Machi, who I would like to say had a decent start. I mean, you got the EMP off. This is the time now where, after a minute and a half, and that was off the back of Nuns dying a bunch of times, which really slowed things down, is you got the EMP off, but you didn't actually kill Michelle, like I already said previously, and then Michelle was able to, self-destruct, get her mech back and challenge Kiyomi. Respawners came in. If you want to win that attack as Machi, you have to do what Machi eventually did at the end of the fight, which is the one they actually got before they lost it, unfortunately, was to actually kill some members, make sure you get some valuable trades. Take a look at the moments now.
This is the same thing. So look at DM here. People, again, Benny Hill theme is playing, right? We saw Nuns dash for him. DM then leads out D-Crown. Nuns dashes back around, and DM's just giving them all the slip constantly. And now suddenly the team comes charging on, and they get a decent enough respawn. No one's really in position. By the way, this time Michelle didn't need to be dealing with Kiyomi on that high ground because Kiyomi had done the undisciplined thing and actually wasn't set up on it. They assumed that they were going to get the cap anyway and didn't need it. And that meant that Republic and Erster were just kind of able to rejoin the fight for free. And that's exactly what I say when it feels like Machi aren't quite reading how Ardeont play. They should expect that Ardeont are going to go for a play like that and actually have the discipline to keep Kiyomi on that high ground.
You look at that play, and that's the thing that's really unfortunate to me is it's a huge player advantage for Machi. First of all, DM comes in by himself. It's a Tracer. Okay, Tracer's going to blink around. You're going to get the recall. Yeah, the Benny Hill theme plays a little bit, but eventually you do kill the Tracer, and DM does eventually die. They're still trickling. By the way, Ardeont are coming in one by one because they're respawning after getting themselves all kind of killed by Machi earlier on, but they didn't all die at the same time. They died kind of split up, so one person died a second, a third. Coming in one at a time. D-Crown went down to, I believe, Republic came back in. No Talk went down as well. And so these respawners that are coming in just sort of one by one are managing to get kills onto Machi.
Yeah.
When Machi actually have a player advantage there and they're not getting kills on the other side, that's absolutely kind of ridiculous to me. Because
it is.
It's the team with less numbers is somehow getting kills on the team with more numbers.
Yeah.
Not the other way.
It is. And ultimately the cause is indeed an extension of what I was just saying. I mean, look, it's not actually just Kiyomi not being on that high ground in particular. On the whole, Machi's positioning wasn't correct there if you were going to assume Ardeont were going to come in and regress. And a lot of it was because DM had kind of run them in circles and they'd displaced themselves. They were in disarray. And at that point, the numbers advantage doesn't count for much if someone is somewhere they shouldn't be and can get picked off by the one member that's coming in. Because then every time a reinforcing member comes in and picks off one of yours, the numbers advantage gets evened up so quickly. It's essentially a non-factor if the positioning isn't there.
Well, one thing that's certainly not evened up is the scoreline. 2-0 for Ardeont so far into the series. Machi are definitely they're looking to get something else done. Assault was what was good against Blank yesterday. Maybe it's the answer for Machi again today, and that's going to happen soon, though. We'll find out what Assault is right after this break. Thanks for sticking through that break with us, ladies and gentlemen, as we're about to head into map 3 of the series. It is week 2 of OPC Season 2. I'm AVRL, still joined with me, Pixie, and it's Ardeont versus Machi. So far, Ardeont 2-0 in the scoreline.
Yeah, looking to, you said earlier tonight, close it out as a 12-0 so far in this tournament in terms of individual map wins. The potential spanner in the works could well be right here, Temple of Anubis, which is where Machi actually took Blank last night. They eventually won that one. It was on Golden Point, though, which went to Lijiang Tower, but still a thing, still a factor. So we very much could just see Machi close it out in Assault.
So let's talk about why and how Machi kind of didn't actually win the Temple itself. They drew Temple. So what they did well is, I feel like they really pressured out Blank, especially on Cap A. They did quite well against Blank on Cap A. They had a really great sort of momentum push into Cap B. Got 2/3 straight away off the back of a sound barrier into Dragonblade from Nuns. And then when did they kind of fall apart? And that's, I believe, on... Was it their time bank attack? It was one of their attacks, which I believe was a time bank attack, and they never really got it across the line. They never kept that 42.5% that Blank set, because Blank played their defense so aggressively. Machi played, I don't want to say passively, but they played very slow. They played very cautiously, and that kind of led to them never having the initiative to actually get aggressive themselves, and never had the initiative to attack themselves, despite having a huge ultimate advantage. And eventually, Blank just nullified that advantage, and they win.
Yeah. So ultimately, it ended up being time bank, and then both teams failed to cap point. I want to say A in time bank.
Oh, it was B. They both got A, but neither team...
But neither... Yeah, no, you're completely right. So neither team got that first third of B, which is why it ended
Blank got 42.5, actually.
No, otherwise they would have won. It wouldn't have been a draw. I think you're thinking of... I think you're thinking of
that was
Mega Thunder or Volskaya.
Okay, cool.
Where they, it was where that happened. So a completely different game, where one team actually did win.
Overwatch, right? Yeah. That's the game we're playing.
Yeah.
Things happen in Overwatch.
It's actually CS:GO.
So B is the bomb site.
Yeah. What happened?
If you're not too sure about what I'm
saying. They only armed it 42.5%. I don't play CS:GO, as you may be able to tell. I do not understand. That is the limit of my knowledge. Like, there's a bomb, there's terrorists, I don't know. And you go.
It's not a friendly airport.
You go. You don't stop, you go. CS,
CS collect $200. I don't know.
The thing that gets me is, like, there's also the game Cities Skylines, which gets shortened to CS, and I do play that game, so it's like, if I'm like CS, people are like, oh, which one? I'm like, no, just...
It's the only one.
Just that one. Like, what? Like the original one? Like, and anyway, let's see how they actually play this game of Overwatch here. It is still Ardeont first to attack, coming up against Machi, who have opted to defend.
They love to attack, I love it.
Well, it's Machi opting to defend, but yes, they do like to attack.
So I think, for Ardeont, they wouldn't have minded attacking anyway. So Machi going on to this EMP sort of Kiyomi-based Sombra play again. Definitely like to see a little bit more usage. I've really got to go back to Numbani, where I just didn't really see the impact of the EMP. That was from Nunzo, so this time Kiyomi. Let's see something different from him.
That's a good pick on D-Crown as the dive comes in. And, well, just another one. Why not? And by the way, it's actually Smurf has been subbed in over Republic, by the way. So that's a change that they're going with. And so far, working absolute wonders is Smurf, as the dive looks super, super clean. All they lose is Erster. And not the first time it's happened, won't be the last, but the point cap is going to be theirs anyway, with only a minute used for that.
Yeah, very quick. This definitely looks like a solid start from Ardeont. Nothing to really shake their head at. I don't believe Ursa had huge impact on the Widowmaker either. Definitely didn't give Kiyomi nearly enough time to get the EMP going. But the good news for Machi is they're well set up, or they should be well set up, just as I say that, for Cap B. But at least they hacked some health pack, so they got something.
Yeah, so they got their health pack control, but they won't be able to get the EMP until the respawn comes through. That being said, they will get the respawn through. Ardeont haven't actually got more kills off the back of that, and that's a really crucial thing now. As Nuns, picking up Animo. DM does get one back on Restia and pops No Talk Smack, but lacking an Erster, and now Smurf opened up. This should be destabilization for Machi, and we're able to actually commit the EMP in that as well. DM's not going down without a fight, but a fight is indeed what he will get as Kant closes him off. And now they're just playing Pet Diva with Michelle.
Well
Who's
played by
like
No Talk.
desperately trying to find Kant, but yeah, No Talk's like, no.
The thing that's really interesting to me is that Erster, that was a pretty big mistake by him because he went down expecting a health pack to be available to him. He knows that Kiyomi's playing the Sombra, so you should expect the health pack to be gone. I don't know, Erster.
Well, maybe he doesn't.
That was
Maybe
a bit of a death trap.
Kiyomi died so quick, he just didn't realize, like, what, they have a Sombra?
Yeah, just now they have a Sombra, but I think they should. I think Erster should have known there was a Sombra. Of course the health pack was going to be hacked. That was never going to work out for him. He got himself killed. And Ardeont, they lose a lot of their power when Erster does go down. DM does a great job of anchoring the team, but not on Assault when Machi respawns so quickly and so close to Cat B.
And the good thing there as well is Kiyomi did die very quickly, but like I said, actually Ardeont didn't convert further kills, so Machi had the time to stabilize and use that time, and now the next aggression in from Ardeont, well, they get a similar opening pick. No one's actually dead just yet, and all the Ardeont members are getting a little bit low here, need to be careful. That's a forced transcendence out of Jeff to give them the staying power on this fight. No Talk does get popped as he committed the self-destruct. Nun's trying to open up now, does get one down on the side of Ardeont, but they need to get a lot more than just that. There we go, that's what he needed. Erster and Smurf both, and DM for good measure, why not? Jeff gets one on the back end, but it is indeed Machi holding again.
It's very disciplined by Ardeont, all things considered, though, because they saved the majority of the ultimates, especially important ones like both the DPS ultimates. They got Animo sitting on the sound barrier as well. This is now how they're going to win this, because no EMP from Kiyomi. If they push quickly, they can dodge the EMP. You're not going to have a hero play from Nuns again with the Dragon Blade. So Ardeont, this is now the most dangerous moment for Machi. If they can somehow hold on to this, have that miracle defense, they're going to bleed a lot of time out of the clock.
And that's what they're looking to do, really. They just need to run down the clock. And they've got the respawn advantage. They are very lean on ultimates and won't even get the EMP this fight. So, crucially, they need to not let anyone get picked off at the top end of this one. So far, staying alive, despite the aggression. Now, finally, Erster closes out on Kiyomi, but actually, he's the only one to go down just yet. No one else is dead. Finally picks Restia. The respawns will start to become a factor. They do get decrowned. Need to get some trade backs here, though. Jeff may just go down, but they can't get the extra follow-up to close out the kill. And now
They still haven't ulted.
They still haven't. They're held on to all of these. And now you start to wonder what match you're waiting for with these respawns coming out. I mean, they just get... Oh, wow. The pulse bomb to secure too.
What
that
EMP?
actually may be it. Yeah. The EMP is now taken off the table, and that's the only ultimate Ardeont have committed so far to get 2/3 of this point. And now Machi have to go. They have to fight into all of these ultimates. They had to just dash for the point, fight through a meteor strike. Now Erster's going to separate them out from behind. That is a hero EMP, though. Jeff will be able to top up the remaining members, but Erster finally going down. They stepped off, though. Oh, Machi had the members. They only had a few, but they had enough to keep contesting, and there was still the opportunity to get a miracle play. They stepped off the point, man.
I think it would have been difficult. I think you definitely don't want to step off the point. You definitely do want to be contesting. You got to contest till the last man. You got to contest until you have absolutely nothing left to work with. So they didn't get a chance to do that. But look, Ardeont had such a well-disciplined, well thought out, and extremely, I want to say, well executed attack as well. They didn't use any ultimates going in. That's absolutely crazy. Like, no team gets away with that. Pretty much,
Except for Ardeont.
Well, that's the thing, right? Ardeont can just do these things that other teams cannot do. Like, what team goes in an attack like that, just casually picks off members? By the way, you sort of mentioned this, but didn't see very many kills to start things off. They pushed in very slowly. We're like, okay, there's no kills just yet. Okay, now they got Kiyomi, but they don't have anything else. Then slowly DM picked up, I believe it was Resty as well. So they started to just slowly work their way through. They didn't try and overcommit with ults. A lot of teams, I feel, in that position would just say, we're getting close. Just sound barrier me in. We're going to just go very deep here. Just use a bunch of ultimates. We're going to kill everyone with ultimates. Not Ardeont.
Yeah.
They just wanted just a couple kills, and then suddenly they got a full team wipe. And, oh, still 6 ultimates, and they're capping the point. What?
Yeah, what do we do here? And I almost wonder if it's this kind of like meta thing going on, because, look, honestly, as the defenders, Machi should be set up enough such that a team can't just slowly push it in and get one pick and stick around for ages, then get another pick and then start closing out. You shouldn't be letting that happening when you're the defense. And I feel like what actually happened is they were set up to wait for Ardeont to commit ultimates and then move in, and then Machi were going to kind of wait out those ultimates and re-aggress themselves. And I actually think because Ardeont didn't, Machi ended up ceding a bit of useful ground.
And the thing there is that Machi didn't have ultimates anyway, so if Ardeont knew that, that was extremely well calculated to say, oh, actually, Machi can't ult us back. That's how we can play slow, but we are going to go
upon layers. This game is an onion, boys. We full onion now.
Ardeont are playing 5-dimensional Overwatch. That's crazy.
Yeah, 5-dimensional space Overwatch. This is going to be Ardeont's defense now, and already losing Smurf. So Machi, they did actually have a great offense yesterday against Blank. That was a lot of what helped them out as well, because Blank themselves did actually cap in the end, and they did go to time bank. So let's see if they can continue that trend and get a cap.
So Machi now taking the slow approach on the top side. I mean, they're doing a similar thing to what Ardeont were doing before on, I guess, that Cat B attack, but they don't have the sort of same tools that Ardeont did have. They got to find something here, because Jeff is going to get the first ultimate of the game. Unlike Kiyomi on the other side, Kiyomi couldn't get an EMP, Jeff does.
And now Kiyomi is going to take a death as well. They do trade on to Animo and Erster. That is crucial for them, but they do need to deal with DM and Jeff still. Nuns might just do it, though. And between him and Kant, they're exerting more pressure than it seems Ardeont are able to handle. So despite that first ultimate... Yeah, DM, there we go. Nuns finally predicted the blink.
So the big problem there is, and this is interesting from Ardeont, because usually Ardeont are the team where, look, if you're killing them, they're killing you back. This is one of the few times in the Machi Ardeont series where Machi actually get a decent number of picks onto Ardeont, despite the EMP coming down from Jeff, which now slows down this Cat B defense. And Ardeont don't get the counter trades. Usually Erster kills somebody. Usually DM kills somebody. Not this time.
What's about to happen here, by the way, is Machi have the opportunity to get a third. If they fail to snowball and get that third, Ardeont are going to get a ton of ultimates up. So they really need to make something good happen here. Sound Barrier going to be committed to give them the time.
Oh, this is the combo.
To convert. Yeah, and this is indeed the combo. But Smurf is already committing this ultimate. Nuns has found nothing. Finally getting Erster is Kant, but that's really not much. Michelle has still got a self-destruct to commit. They need to get a lot more kills than just this, as Sound Barrier is out for the defense. Here's the self-destruct from Michelle. They are forcing a lot of ultimates out from the defense, but they're now starting to lose members as Jeff commits the EMP. They find themselves a little bit lacking in the defensive department. Erster closes out another one, and no third for you, Machi.
And this is the big difference between the two teams, because take a look at it again, Ardeont. Their way of attacking this point B, they held 6 ultimates while still killing people. Machi, they engaged with 2 ultimates, and Nuns couldn't find a single kill. It was Kant that actually got the first kill of the game, and that was after Machi had already committed so much, and still not even 1/3. It's just a big difference between the amount that each team can actually get value-wise from their pushes.
I like how Jeff just legitimately walked like halfway across the map, and then just blinked straight back.
Yep.
I'm not overextended, you're overextended.
Jeff can go where he likes.
Yeah. Jeff, please. Nun's going to be swapping up onto his own Sombra here, so he's going to be fighting into an EMP for this first one. But Erster going aggressive off the back of that is going to really clean house, even as DM was actually the first one to die. So Erster kind of pulling that one back for his team. They still had plenty of time and space to fight through, though. That's well ahead of the point itself. Machi weren't even able to make it to point B for that one.
And if you're Machi right now, you've probably got a little bit of PTSD to last night, because this was exactly how Blank were playing their defense against Machi as well. So successful in that sort of defense. Machi just didn't have, I'd like to say, the initiative to, they didn't have the initiative to attack, but also they weren't really seeing these plays coming in. So every single time Blank got aggressive, every single time that now Ardeont are getting aggressive, Machi are just not prepared.
That's how you get there, is Tracer.
Really? We saw a whole season of that.
Yeah, but
all of season 1, people were doing that.
Never from the Tracer's perspective. Oh, now DM is just playing Assassin's Creed. This is getting ridiculous.
I feel like if you were Genji, this would be thematically more accurate. But
yeah, but it's actually Tracer, as it turns out, is like the best climber on Temple of Anubis. Drops in from the skies. Here we go. Death from above. Picks off Restia with the help of Smurf. Closes in on Kant, and no one knew DM was there. So, there's just no safe retreat path, and that was only the EMP committed. That is exactly the kind of fight we expect out of Ardeont.
And they're not just done
Oh my goodness.
They might get a D-Mech. If they get a D-Mech here, he should just leave him, and
ooh, okay.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. You just got an ult.
Exactly. No Talk will get the mech for this fight, but yeah, exactly. They got the ult anyway, so it doesn't matter. You know, it's instead of getting time, they take away an ult.
And Machi got to
where's DM going next?
Machi got to really do something about this, and that sounds like an obvious thing to say, but again, they're losing the same way they're losing to Blank last night in much more dire circumstances as well, because Machi were ahead in that series. They're definitely not ahead right now, and they're not going to get any cap if they don't do something quick.
Nun's very hard committing there onto Michelle. They do de-mech Michelle and pick Jeff. That's key. No EMP now. They're relying on Erster to get a big Dragon Blade and for Smurf to get a lot of work done as well, but Erster's finding nothing, and now goes down. DM does trade one back. The members of Machi haven't really got enough kills just yet, though, and now Decran out of the Primal Rage. They need to close something out, but honestly, Kant is having a hard time doing it on his own. Now, Ersta's respawned. He's off onto the Doomfist, but he's back in action, and Kant was busy spawn camping instead of fighting on the point, securing the kills they needed to get a third, and again, they fall just shy.
And they don't get a third, and that's disappointing. Not even a single tick here. Machi seriously running out of time. I think Machi had a very decent first attack, and now we're seeing this sort of trend where I have to keep going back to the Blank series because there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of comparisons you can draw from that series. It does look very similar. Machi had a great first A attack, first cap attack, and then cap B. They're just sort of failing to this aggressive pressure coming up from the defensive team. And Ardeont, they're not going to let up. They got another EMP. They've had so many good EMPs so far. This is expected to be another good one.
DM's just going to do it again. It's like they haven't
there's
realized that this is where he is. And now Kanda's already dead. So essentially the wind is out of the sails here. Plus DM can just kind of pincer in some retreat. Now he's gonna have to kind of give up the position because he did at last get spotted out. But he got spotted out while No Talk was retreating. It was just like a bonus.
Oh, you found one spot. Now DM will probably find another spot.
Yeah.
It's one thing to play hide and seek. It's another thing to actually make some plays.
It's like five-dimensional hide and seek.
Hide and seek doesn't really make a difference if you're not really able to, have objective pressure. So far,
straight back.
a lot of if you could have a heat map for where the fights are taking place, most of the fights and deaths are happening outside the cap itself.
Yeah.
For Machi, you want to be fighting on the cap. Ardeont aren't letting you do that.
And again, Ersta getting an early pick. It's like Machi just don't seem to be prepared for any of the pressure. They pick Kiyomi, they close out on Nuns. How much time is going to be wasted here with Machi just trying to set up a play and getting attacked before they're even close to the point?
And Ardeont now sitting on yet another EMP, and this is starting to get to the point where if you don't win this next push, you're going to be at around the 20-second sort of mark. You're getting super desperate now for Machi. If you know Ardeont are getting aggressive here, it's time to maybe bait the plays out. Expect them to come in, then try and punish them if they try and overextend on you. Otherwise, you have to be the aggressive one and try and dive on them first. But none of those scenarios are really happening for Machi right now.
Yeah, Jeff has actually had the EMP for a while and has been getting pressured every time he goes in for one. So that is one thing Machi are reading, but they need to start reading Ersta as well. They finally close out on him. There we go. Decrown picking Jeff. This is the window they need. Those respawns will come in and be very influential for Ardeont, but there is a big window for Machi. They just need to leverage it. They need to swing it open and climb through. Decrown going deep onto Smurf to close it out as the respawns will start coming through for Ardeont now. And I believe that may just barely be a third for the side of Machi. Desperately looking to close out on more members, but the sound barrier is there for Machi and Ardeont both. Michelle gets a double with the self-destruct, and there isn't time for an attack after this now. Machi have run out all of their clock. Nuns is down. Ersta staying in the fight after that respawn came in for him. Decrown buying time with the Primal Rage, but he needs to be on the point with that time. Smurf is desperately trying to keep him off it. He didn't even need to because Decrown finally gets onto it and loses his life instantly. Machi are going to get completely held out on B. An extreme counterpoint to Ardeont's exceptionally quick push onto both point A and point B.
And a really quick defense. I think they were just quick overall because you look at the way they defended once more. They were the ones that looked like they were attacking even when defending. It was just something to behold for this team. And for Machi, this has got to be frustrating because now twice in a row, 2 nights in a row, 2 matches in a row, you are losing to the exact same method of play that Blank sort of done. And I guess for Machi, this is a very educational weekend for them, if nothing else. Look, they took their best fight right in the final moments as we headed into the overtime. On Numbani, they took their best fight as we headed into the overtime. This can't be the trend that continues for Machi, or you were never going to get a win.
Especially when you get that best fight in the overtime and you still don't win. Like that's
twice in a row.
Yeah, that's the
Numbani
worst.
and
that's the worst possible trend. Like it's a little troublesome. It's a worrying sign if you are getting those fights at the last possible minute and winning them, and that's the only reason you're winning. It's worse if you're not winning them.
So the overtime sort of phenomenon here is what it says to me about teams, and this is a trend for a lot of teams actually. They get their best fights in overtime, and the reason they get their best fights in overtime is because that's when they waste the least amount of time. Because they've realized if we don't go, we're going to lose.
Yeah.
So we got to go. And when
it
they
means
got to go...
they have to play with confidence.
And when they got to go, suddenly, you know, they're getting there quicker than the other team. They're finding plays before the other team. They're able to just penetrate the defense a lot quicker than they normally usually do. And the time factor makes a big difference for them. It's actually not a surprise that a lot of teams do find their best fights right when it actually counts. Now you just got to do that on every single fight everywhere else. And that's what Ardeont look like they are doing, which is why their first pushes can be so deadly.
Yeah, and I'll go back to what I was saying there as well, which is a lot of that actually just stems from confidence. And it's this thing of like, you know you can't hesitate, so you might as well be confident.
Let's take a look at the replay now. Early stages of the attack from Ardeont, and I'm pretty certain Ursa doesn't have super big impact here. It's actually everyone else, and you did mention this as well, but Smurf debuted his first OPC game on this map now. So Smurf has been sitting on the bench for a week and a half, finally gets his chance to play. Ursa actually dies in the middle of that. Kiyomi doesn't get anywhere close to an EMP. Meanwhile, the rest of his team just gets picked up in quick fashion.
And here's the thing, you have to ask yourself this question. Look, he is a Sombra, he doesn't want to be in the thick of the fight. He wants to be dancing around it, but why was he going after Ursa when most of his team was dying on the point to Smurf, you know? Or, you know, don't you want to be there trying to hack a diva or have that health pack control for your team while they're getting attacked?
It's the only kill they got, actually.
Yeah, exactly. And I also want to jump on something you said there. It did feel a bit like Ursa wasn't having much impact in terms of the kills he got, but what he did have was impact in terms of the position he forced Machi to take. This is something we do talk about quite a bit with attack Widowmakers on Assault especially, is once you're set up with those sightlines, the enemy team has two options. They can try and dislodge you so that they have freedom of movement in what would have been your sightlines, or they can just retreat to be out of your sightlines, and often that means giving up ground. So without even getting kills, the Widowmaker does very much change how the defense must play. Combined with how quickly Ardeont went on the attack, they didn't actually let Machi get into that more defensive position, which would have already been a bit disadvantageous, and instead caught them partway between the moves. So they actually leveraged that pressure in a much more effective way than I think a lot of teams.
I think that is absolutely correct. And the other hand of that is the other thing they managed to do is they actually get Kiyomi to go for that 1v1, so kind of taking Kiyomi away from the fight. You sort of asking, why was he doing that? Well, I mean, actually, he did that and got the only kill, so really the bigger question was where was everyone else? Why were there no other kills? Because it did look like for a while it was a 5 versus 6 Ursa. His impact was sightlines. That's cool, but sightlines doesn't equal damage, doesn't equal kills. So the problem then becomes you have 5 versus 6. Ursa sort of just playing spotter in the backyard with binoculars. But it's like the 6 members of Machi, you expect more out of that fight. And it does go back to Numbani, where what was like 5 or 6 members against just Thiem, and they couldn't get it done. Let's take a look at the next replay now. This is going to be the second point attack. If not mistaken, this is the one they actually get, and you sort of should see here, they don't use any ultimates. They get a bunch of kills, and Kiyomi dies first.
Yeah. He does just barely go down with that EMP available. And here's the thing, you're right, they don't commit any ultimates. They really took their time setting up, and suddenly Machi, who were expecting that they could slowly draw them in, forced them to commit ultimates. Yeah, it is actually a bit before that, but roughly the same thing happens anyway. Machi were expecting that they could make Ardeont commit ultimates in order for Ardeont to be able to get onto the point, but Ardeont, they played more patiently than that, and eventually Machi were like, they're not going, we need to commit to this fight or they're going to slowly push up, oh goodness, and they suddenly committed a bunch of ultimates, and it set the stage for the fight that happened immediately after, where suddenly Ardeont come in with 6, and Machi used way more than they needed to on that defense. They needed to use the sound barrier when they did, they needed to use the Dragon Blade to close it out, and everything that happened in the middle was extra. And then suddenly, they had absolutely nothing to go on, and even then, Ardeont still didn't need to use their ultimates.
And that's the thing, they only got Jeff's Transcendence, and that was sort of, I guess, a token gesture of, let's see how this goes. Maybe we can, if you're on the Ardeont side, maybe you can turn around just by getting some picks, and then you set yourself up on the cap anyway with that big ultimate advantage. It's another way to just kind of test what Machi have going for them. And what Machi did have going for them was Pulse Bomb. They had the Dragon Blade as well. That was the Nun's hero play that really saved the cap. That didn't happen the second time around, and you got to really commend Ardeont for being disciplined to not overcommit there either. They sort of said, we're going to use this push, got a lot of time, got a lot of ultimates. We maybe know there's some ultimates on the other side, but we don't want to overcommit here. Let's just see what they're doing. If they start winning, we're going to back off. We know we can come back in. And when they came back in, that was a really big moment. Let's take a look at the play of the game now, Ursa on the Genji. Yeah, I mean, this guy is definitely my favorite DPS of the tournament, so I'm happy about that.
And by the way, interesting, of course, we saw him predominantly on the Genji tonight. We did see a smattering of Doomfist, but mostly the Genji, mostly as well Genji Tracer, a lot of dive in there, a bit of triple DPS actually with Jeff on Soldier 76, and we're starting to see a bit of the flexibility that Ardeont can bring to the table. We always knew it was there, but we're seeing more of it. What we haven't seen just yet is stuff like the Reinhardt Zarya and things like that. We also haven't seen all that much Soldier just with 2 DPS, but this is definitely a team that can. The question will be when. And when the question is, when will it happen? The answer can just be not until finals, baby, and they can just hold that in their back pocket if they can keep getting wins with the few tools they've already displayed.
It's interesting because we have seen a little bit of Ardeont play Soldier. We saw it on Jeff, but actually more traditionally, we've seen Erster pick up the Soldier. And what's interesting about that is...
We've seen it a bit, you're quite right.
What's interesting about that is that so far has looked like the weakest composition for Ardeont. Erster playing Genji, Erster playing Doomfist has been really impactful. I would go as far as to say Erster on Doomfist is now Ardeont's best composition. When he's on the Doomfist, he's getting way more kills than he does even on the Genji. When he's on the Genji, the blades are good, but he's not getting a super high amount of kills without the blade. When he's on Doomfist, he's just getting kills all the time, ultimate or node. In fact, it's like the opposite of Genji. Genji, ultimate, great, get a lot of kills. Doomfist, ultimate, don't really get a lot of kills. But you get the ultimate, you get the kills through other methods, and that's almost better than using the blades. So if you go up against Ardeont and they're playing Tracer Soldier, that's actually given them the least amount of positive results. So
yeah, actually, I think that's very fair.
I would expect Ardeont to maybe not run that as often. I would expect them to maybe actually practice that a little bit more and refine it to the level that Flash Wolves do. So very much the opposite of Flash Wolves, because everything else has looked weaker, but Flash Wolves look great on Tracer Soldier.
Yeah, and actually you raise an important thing there. Practice it, absolutely practice it, because you know the meta can absolutely shift throughout this tournament. Sure, maybe you'll make playoffs, and suddenly you find that like you have to have Erster on Soldier, and if that's still a weakness at that point, well, problem. So I expect them to practice this, and maybe indeed, similar to what I was saying before, practice it and then just not pull it out until playoffs, have it still be this kind of unknown quantity. They would like to kind of test it in a, if you will, a live fire situation before that happens, but I think if they can practice it and polish it, they should be confident enough in their general play to happily kind of hold it in the back pocket as this what if that they can hold over other teams' heads.
You know what? The other what if and back pocket strategy, well, not strategy, but play was Smurf. And they held him out for a while. They brought him out. The thing that interests me about Smurf is actually I was really looking to see what the difference in team dynamic, the team gameplay would be between Republic and Smurf. And actually I couldn't see it. And that says a lot to me in the sense that it actually positively, Smurf is fitting into the team really smoothly.
Yeah, it wasn't to the team. It wasn't to the team's detriment, and I wonder if there is maybe a factor of a different kind of hero pool at play, but we didn't really get to see it there. If that's the case.
All right, we're going to take a post-match interview now with Jeff again.
안녕하세요.
好，那今天比较特别的是呢 ，Jeff 的家人好像也来到了现场。
So it looks like Jeff's family is actually here. There it is.
哦，没有错。
It's Jeff's mum.
好，那我们这边请 Jeff 先做个简单的自我介绍。
So look for a introduction.
저는 아디언트에서 이제 서브 힐러를 맡고 있는 제프 권민석이라고 합니다. 19살이에요. 반갑습니다.
他在他们队伍里面，
서브 힐.
辅助的担任辅助
So
角色的
I'm Ardeont support player Jeff.
Jeff
好，那来了台湾快要2个礼拜，在
So you've been
台
here for
湾
2
还
months
适应吗？
nearly?
各方面。
How's living in Taiwan been?
대만에서도 혹시 초긴 트레이닝지
네, 처음에는 좀 많이 덥고 습해가지고 힘들었는데
刚开始
다니다
因为
보니까
很
적응됐어요.
潮湿、很热，所以有一点累。但现在
It's very hot here, very humid, so I am a little bit
那对
tired
台
because of
湾
it, but I'm
印
getting
象
used to
最
it.
深刻的地方是什么呢？
So what's been the most memorable experience or the best experience in Taiwan so far?
음식점들마다 음료수를 무한 리필해 주는 거?
他说在餐厅里面，就是饮料都可以无限续杯这件
Alright,
事情。
so at the East Stadium, I can have any beverage I want, and I like that.
好，那最后一个问题是，今天是以3比0
So you got a 3-0 today?
对方，那有什么话想要对现场的家人
Did you
说
want
吗
to？say anything to the crowd or your parents?
이기셔서 혹시 그 가족들한테 하실 말씀 있으세요?
뭐 가족들 보러 와가지고 또 좋은 결과 낸 것 같아서 뿌듯하고 이까지 또 한국에서 대만까지 보러 와줘가지고 너무 고맙고 다들 사랑합니다.
就是说非常谢谢，就是家族从
So
韩
thank you
国
to
这样
everyone.
大老远的跑来台湾帮
Thanks
他
to
加
my
油，
family
然后
for
就非常的欣慰，
coming
然后也谢
here
谢他
from
家。
Korea, and I really appreciate
好，那我把
the journey
时间
that
交给
they've made
叶
to
保
come
罗
here. Thank you very much.
我想请问一下，请问你们队伍上面的主抠是谁？因为
So
我们
who's
对
your main
ART 这个队伍
caller
还可能不太了解。
On the team.
혹시 팀에서
So we can learn a little bit more about Ardeont.
공격신 분 어떤 분?
OK， 好，然后再来是
That was
想
very
问一
quiet.
下
Sorry, I didn't hear
你
that.
们在重组的过程中遇到比较困难的事情是什么？
Have you had any
就
difficulties
是
so
队
far?
伍重新组成一个新队伍再说。
So what you've sort of rebuilt this new team with new members on Ardeont as well. Have there been some difficult times?
다시 만든다고.
팀원들이 다시 만든 네 리뷰.
힘들었던 건 이제 아무래도 전에 맞춰본 적이 없으니까 좀 맞추는데 시간이 걸렸는데 금방 적응하고 잘 맞춰줬던 것 같아요.
就是通常是适应来说，就是各个队员中的适应是最困难，但是因为他们还算马上的，就是很快速的适应，所以还不错。
是，
So
然
the
后
the
来
team
问一
was
下
formed
游
quite
戏相关
quickly
的问题
together.
哦，
So
就是在
getting everyone in
第
the
一张
synergy
就
together
是
was
漓江
the
天塔
hardest.
这张图，他们在1、2张花园跟夜市，就是他们出了2个不同的阵型，想问一下他们是怎么做选择的？
All right. So how did you choose your compositions for Lijiang Tower? Because you had a couple of different ones that you did run. What's the thought process behind that?
켄지하고 루피스타가 어떻게 선택하는지.
왜 둠피스트를 했는지.
네. 왜 켄지하고 어떻게?
처음에는 이제 겐지를 쓰다가 둠피스트가 나오고 겐지보다 좀 더 잘 썼을 때 효율이 좋은 것 같아서 이제 원래 겐지를 하던 어스터 선수가 이제 경쟁전에서 혼자 이제 기량을 좀 올리고 이제 팀적으로 스크림에서 더 맞춰가지고 둠피스트 썼던 것 같아요.
说原本是用혹시 다시
겐지보다 그러니까 둠피스트가 더 효율이 좋아서
比起 Kenji 就是它效能更好，卢皮斯塔全网比起原式的效能更好，所以才选择。
So when we feel like there's a better Genji map, we play
但
Genji
是
instead
想
of
问
Doomfist.
他们防守的时候，他们刻意的把防守点拉到更前面去做防守。想问一下，他们不觉得这样这样很危险吗？
So on Temple of Anubis, you play very aggressively on the Camp B defense. Do you feel like this is actually very dangerous for your team?
수비는 아무래도 맵별로 좀 다른데 이제 뭐 리장 타워 관제 센터 같은 경우에는 싸움을 이기면은 상대가 나오는 기지 앞에서 막을 경우도 있고 보통은 이제 하이 리스크이기 때문에 보통 거점 쪽에서 막 자리 잡고 싸운다거나 그런 경우가 많아요.
他说，因为在前面的话，就是以守备跟在攻击的方面就是比较方便，所以选择在比较前面。
所以他们
So it's actually pretty easy for us. It's not.
就目前开赛到现在来说，那他们最想要遇到哪一支队伍？
So who is the team here that you want to face the most?
어느 팀 제일 경기하고 싶으세요?
아무래도 전 시즌 우승했던 플래시 울브즈.
跟想要上一季优胜的队伍。
就是闪电人嘛。
对。
So Flash Wolves next week we're looking forward to.
好，那我们再次恭喜2RT，也谢谢我们的翻译
Thank
Jeff，
you very
我们
much,
接受
and
叶宝，谢谢。
apologies for some maybe difficult translations there. As a reminder, it's a three-way translation, so it's Chinese into Korean, back to Chinese, back to English to me. So I guarantee there's some things there that are probably lost in translation. I know Jeff gave definitely longer answers, which were a little bit shorter when it went to Chinese and then much shorter when it came back to me in English. So maybe there's a little bit more context there, but essentially, look, they're not really scared just yet.
Yeah.
They're waiting to play Flashals. Who cares about blank? Who cares about AHQ? We just want to play Flashals.
Yeah, the team that won last season, that's the one we want to beat. It's like when you arrive at a new school and you go and punch the toughest guy there. That's almost like that's what Ardeont's
Toughest
plan
guy
is.
is a wolf, and
Yeah,
flashing.
there's a wolf at your high school, and Ardeont's gonna punch him. I don't know what school you go to. That's really freaky, but Ardeont's here to save you, boys. But yeah, that seems to kind of be what's actually happening here. They're like, all right, we're just gonna take down the biggest, meanest looking dude here, and that dude is Flash Wolves.
Yeah.
That's gonna be coming up next week. But for now, Ardeont still undefeated, not just in matches, but also in maps. 4-0, mostly by credit of having the most games played right now, but they are rightfully so topping the leaderboards, but with the hardest matches still to come.
Yeah, absolutely. The hardest matches will come next week, and you're going to see Ardeont face up against AHQ, Blank, and Flash Wolves in week number 3. But we're not there just yet. We're still in week 2. And coming up next on the schedule is Blank versus Hong Kong Attitude. Look up for that in roughly around the sort of 14-ish kind of minute mark. So, go and take a break somewhere, go and get some food, and when you come back, OPC Season 2 continues.